There's a kind of silence that doesn't soothe, it stings. It creeps in slowly like fog over a familiar landscape, until one day you realize the phone hasn't rung in weeks. The door hasn't opened in months. And the voices that once filled your home, laughter, arguments, footsteps, have vanished. You sit in the same chair at the same table with the same memories. But something is missing. Not just your children, but the connection, the warmth, the rhythm of being needed. And in that silence, a question begins to echo. Did I do something wrong? You remember the early years. The scraped knees, the bedtime stories, the school projects. You were the center of their world, their protector, their guide. And now, you're a footnote, a distant memory, a name on a contact list they rarely scroll through. It's not just loneliness, it's grief. Grief for the role you no longer play. Grief for the identity that's fading. Because being a parent isn't just what you did, it's who you became. And when that role disappears, it leaves a void. A silence that hurts more than words ever could. Psychologists call it ambiguous loss. The pain of losing someone who's still alive. Your children haven't died, but they've disappeared. Emotionally, relationally. And that kind of loss is hard to explain. There's no funeral, no closure, just absence. And in that absence, the mind begins to spiral. You replay old conversations. You analyze decisions. You wonder if one wrong word, one missed moment, one forgotten birthday caused the drift. But the truth is often more complex. Relationships don't break in a moment, they erode over time. Slowly, quietly, until silence becomes the norm. The soul craves connection. It's wired for belonging. And when that connection is severed, especially with your own children, it feels like a spiritual wound. Not just emotional pain, but existential confusion. Who am I now? What do I do with this love that has nowhere to go? These are sacred questions. Painful, yes, but sacred. Because they point to something deeper than the relationship. They point to your essence. Your capacity to love, to give, to care. And that essence doesn't disappear just because someone stops calling. You sit in the silence. Not as a victim, but as a witness. A witness to your own heartache. A witness to the passage of time. A witness to the truth that something must change. Not in them, but in you. Because waiting for someone to return is not the same as healing. And healing begins with a decision. I will not let this silence define me. I will not let this absence become my identity. I will feel the pain, honor it, and then rise above it. Because the silence may be loud, but my soul is louder. And it's time to listen to that voice again. Blame is seductive. It offers a false sense of control in a situation that feels helpless. When your children stop calling, stop visiting, stop showing up, the mind searches for reasons. And the easiest place to land is blame. You blame their partners, their busy lives, their selfishness. You blame the culture, the generation, the technology. You blame yourself. But blame is a trap. It doesn't heal, it hardens. It builds walls where bridges are needed. It turns pain into poison. And that poison doesn't stay contained, it leaks into your thoughts, your words, your energy. You start rehearsing arguments in your head. You imagine confrontations that never happen. You scroll through old photos not with love but with resentment. And slowly you become someone you don't recognize, bitter, closed, guarded. But the truth is, blame is a defense mechanism. It protects you from the deeper wound, the feeling of being unloved, unseen, unimportant. That's the real pain. And it's terrifying to face. So the mind chooses blame instead. Because blame feels active. It feels righteous. It feels justified. But it's a dead end. It keeps you stuck in the past, waiting for someone else to change. And that waiting becomes suffering. The longer you wait, the deeper the wound. The deeper the wound, the louder the blame. It becomes a cycle, a loop, a prison. And the only way out is forgiveness. Not for them, for you. Forgiveness is not about letting them off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the hook. It's about choosing peace over punishment. It's about saying, I deserve to feel whole even if they never apologize. Even if they never return. Even if they never understand. Because your healing cannot depend on their behavior. It must begin with your choice. The choice to release the story that keeps you stuck. The story that says, They owe me. The story that says, I was perfect. The story that says, I'll never be okay until they come back. These stories are heavy. And they're not true. The truth is, relationships are complex. People change. Wounds happen. Distance grows. And sometimes the reasons are invisible. Sometimes the silence is not about you, it's about them. Their fears, their guilt, their unresolved pain. And if you can see that even for a moment, you create space. Space for compassion. Space for understanding. Space for healing. That doesn't mean you excuse the hurt. It means you transcend it. You rise above it. You choose to be bigger than the blame. Because blame shrinks you. Keeps you small, reactive, defensive. But forgiveness expands you. It opens your heart, clears your mind, and restores your power. And that power is what you need now. Not to fix the relationship, but to fix your relationship with yourself. To stop defining your worth by their actions. To stop measuring your value by their attention. To stop waiting for closure, and start creating peace. Peace is not passive. It's a decision, a practice, a discipline. And it begins when you say, I release the blame. I release the bitterness. I release the need to be right. I choose healing. I choose freedom. I choose me. Reflection is not punishment, it's liberation. When the silence becomes unbearable, when the absence of your children feels like a wound that won't close, the mind naturally seeks answers. But answers don't come from blame or fantasy, they come from reflection. Honest, raw, courageous reflection. Not to shame yourself, but to understand yourself. To trace the patterns, the moments, the dynamics that shaped your relationship. What did love look like in your home? Was it spoken or assumed? Was it conditional or free? Were emotions welcomed or silenced? These questions are not accusations, they're invitations. Invitations to see the full picture, not just the pain. Because every relationship is a mirror. And when that mirror cracks, it reveals what was hidden. Maybe you were too strict. Maybe you were too lenient. Maybe you gave everything and lost yourself in the process. Maybe you held back, afraid to be vulnerable. Whatever the truth is, it's yours. And owning it is the beginning of healing. Reflection is not about rewriting the past, it's about reclaiming your power in the present. It's about seeing the child within you who never felt heard, and realizing how that shaped the parent you became. It's about recognizing the generational patterns, the emotional inheritance passed down without words. The silence, the shame, the expectations. And once you see it, you can break it. You can choose differently. You can become the cycle breaker. But that choice begins with awareness. With sitting in the discomfort of truth. With asking, what did I teach them about love? About conflict? About forgiveness? About presence? And more importantly, what am I teaching myself now? Because reflection is not just about them, it's about you. Your growth. Your evolution. Your awakening. It's the moment you stop reacting and start responding. The moment you stop defending and start understanding. The moment you stop waiting and start becoming. Becoming someone who sees clearly, feels deeply, and acts wisely. And that clarity changes everything. It softens the heart. It quiets the mind. It opens the door to compassion, for yourself and for them. Because once you understand the roots, you stop judging the branches. You stop needing to be perfect. You stop needing to be right. You start needing to be real. And realness is what heals. Realness is what reconnects. Realness is what transforms silence into possibility. So reflect. Not once but often. Not with guilt but with grace. Not to fix the past but to free the future. Because the power of reflection is the power to rewrite your story, not with fantasy but with truth. And truth, when embraced, becomes the foundation of peace. There comes a moment when pain becomes clarity. When the silence that once haunted you becomes a mirror, not of what's missing but of what's possible. This is the shift you must make. The moment you stop waiting and start living. Because healing doesn't begin when they return. It begins when you do. When you return to yourself. To your breath. To your purpose. You are more than a parent. More than a role. More than a memory in someone else's life. You are a soul with depth, with dignity, with dreams. And those dreams don't expire just because someone stopped calling. The shift begins with a decision. I will no longer define myself by who shows up, but by how I show up for myself. That means reclaiming your time, your energy, your joy. It means revisiting the passions you abandoned, the hobbies you shelved, the friendships you let fade. It means creating a life that feels full, even if some relationships remain empty. Because fullness is not about quantity, it's about quality. The quality of your presence, the quality of your thoughts, the quality of your self-respect. You must stop chasing and start attracting. Attracting peace, attracting clarity, attracting people who see you, hear you, value you. And that attraction begins with alignment. When you live in alignment with your truth, your energy shifts. You stop begging for love and start becoming love. You stop waiting for validation and start embodying worth. You stop fearing solitude and start honoring it. Solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. It's where you meet yourself again. Where you remember who you were before the roles, before the expectations, before the heartbreak. And that remembrance is sacred. It's the foundation of rebirth. Because the shift is not just emotional, it's spiritual. It's the moment you realize that your life is still yours, that your story is still unfolding, that your heart is still beating, not for them but for you. So rise. Not with bitterness but with boldness. Not with resentment but with resilience. Not with desperation but with direction. Build new routines. Create new rituals. Speak new affirmations. Surround yourself with people who reflect your light, not your wounds. And if those people are hard to find, become that person for yourself. Be your own witness, your own healer, your own guide. Because the shift you must make is not about changing them, it's about changing your relationship with yourself. From neglect to nourishment. From silence to self-expression. From waiting to walking. Walking toward a life that feels like home. Not because of who's in it, but because of how you feel in it. And that feeling is your compass. Follow it. Trust it. Honor it. Because when you do, you stop surviving and start thriving. There comes a time when silence must be met with presence, not pressure. If you choose to reach out to your children, let it be from a place of clarity, not desperation. Because the energy behind your words matters more than the words themselves. If your message is soaked in guilt, they will feel guilt. If it's wrapped in anger, they will feel attacked. But if it's rooted in love, quiet, steady, unconditional love, they will feel safe. And safety is what opens the door. So what do you say when the silence has stretched too long? You say, I'm thinking of you. I hope you're well. I'm here when you're ready. No demands. No expectations. Just presence. Because presence is powerful. It doesn't chase, it invites. It doesn't beg, it holds space. And holding space is the most generous act you can offer someone who's emotionally distant. It says, I see you. I honor your journey. I'm not here to control, I'm here to connect. But connection cannot be forced. It must be chosen. And sometimes they're not ready to choose it. Not because they don't love you, but because they're lost in their own story. Their own wounds. Their own confusion. And if you can see that even for a moment, you shift from judgment to compassion. Compassion doesn't mean you excuse the hurt. It means you understand the humanity behind it. And that understanding changes everything. It softens your tone. It opens your heart. It clears your mind. You stop rehearsing confrontations and start practicing grace. Grace is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the wisdom to know that timing matters. That healing is nonlinear. That relationships evolve. And that sometimes, the most powerful message is the one that says, I love you even from afar. I respect your space. I trust your journey. And I'm here, not as a rescuer but as a witness. A witness to your growth. A witness to your return. A witness to the bond that still lives beneath the silence. Because bonds don't die, they sleep. And your message can be the gentle nudge that awakens them. But only if it's sent with intention. So before you write, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I speaking from love or from lack? From clarity or from chaos? From peace or from pain? And if the answer is love, clarity, peace, then speak. Speak simply. Speak truthfully. Speak gently. And then let go. Let go of the outcome. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the need to be heard. Because the message they need to hear is not just in your words, it's in your energy. And when your energy is clean, your message becomes medicine. Medicine for the heart. Medicine for the soul. Medicine for the relationship. Whether they respond or not, you've done your part. You've shown up. You've spoken truth. You've chosen grace. And that choice is the beginning of healing, for both of you. You still deserve a life that feels alive. A life that breathes, that sings, that moves with meaning. Just because your children have drifted doesn't mean you must drift with them. You are not a shadow of their absence. You are the light of your own presence. And that presence is sacred. It holds wisdom, stories, laughter, and love that still matter. You deserve mornings that begin with purpose, not pain. Afternoons filled with creation, not waiting. Nights wrapped in peace, not longing. Because your life is not over, it's evolving. And evolution begins when you choose to live for yourself, not through others. That choice is not selfish, it's spiritual. It's the reclamation of your soul's voice. The voice that says, I'm still here. I'm still worthy. I'm still whole. You don't need permission to be happy. You don't need validation to feel valuable. You don't need reconciliation to feel complete. Completion is an inside job. It's the moment you stop measuring your worth by who calls, and start measuring it by how deeply you live. So live. Live boldly. Live gently. Live intentionally. Create new rituals. Plant new seeds. Build new connections. There are people waiting to meet you, not as someone's parent, but as someone powerful. Someone present. Someone real. And those connections will not replace what was lost, but they will remind you of what's still possible. Because possibility is everywhere. In the books you haven't read. In the places you haven't visited. In the talents you haven't explored. In the love you haven't yet received. And all of it begins with one decision: to stop surviving and start thriving. Thriving doesn't mean perfection, it means participation. It means showing up for your own life with courage, with curiosity, with compassion. It means forgiving the past, embracing the present, and trusting the future. Trust that healing is happening even when it's invisible. Trust that your heart is wiser than your wounds. Trust that your story still matters, not because of who listens but because of how you tell it. So tell it. Through your actions. Through your art. Through your presence. Let your life be the message. A message that says, I chose peace. I chose growth. I chose joy. And in that choice I found myself again. You still deserve laughter. You still deserve love. You still deserve mornings that feel like miracles. And you don't need anyone's permission to claim them. Claim them now. Not someday. Not when they return. Not when it's easier. No. Because now is all you have. And now is enough. You are enough. Your life is enough. And the silence that once hurt you? It no longer defines you. You've risen. You've healed. You've remembered who you are. And who you are is extraordinary.